Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, I wanted to hit on this. The whole Hillary Clinton, if Hillary Clinton is better than Donald Trump. This is going to be a verdict episode. I will clue you into my verdict. Hillary Clinton is not better than Donald Trump. She's not. She's not. You can say it all, you can ask anytime you want, as many times as you want, the answer will still remain no. Hell no. You want me to whisper it? No. However you want to say it. No. She's not. She's absolutely not. And I've hit this before, but let's hit it again. Bill Maher brought this up in this ridiculous argument that he's making to Cornel West. Alright, let's hit it right on the head. I was going to use this for Tim Black's first episode context, but no, I want this on my channel. I want this on my channel. So, before I engage in this argument, let's make something clear. It is not the responsibility of anybody, nobody, to get votes for Hillary Clinton other than Hillary Clinton. Any argument that you're talking to somebody, you're saying, why didn't you vote for my candidate? You should have voted for my candidate. You should have voted for my shitty candidate. Trump is in office and I'm terrified. That has more to do with you, not me. She's not my candidate. She's your candidate. Now, that's her job to get people to vote for her. If she cannot scare up enough votes, if she cannot get enough people animated enough to go out and vote for her, that is her problem. That's something wrong with your candidate. That is nothing wrong with anyone else. It is not Cornel West's responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It's not Jimmy Dore's responsibility. It's not Progressive's responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility to vote for Hillary Clinton. It's not perfunctory. Those votes aren't perfunctory. Nobody owes her their vote. Nobody owes anybody their vote. If you have 4 parties, people can vote for any of those parties. None of those parties have a cosmic right to that vote. Those people place that vote based upon who they want to give that vote to. If you couldn't get Greens, Progressives, Cornel West, Jamal Thomas, my audience, if you couldn't get these people to vote for you, it sounds like your problem, dude. That's your problem. Something's wrong with you. Something wrong with you. You couldn't be a blue-collar billionaire. That's what's taking place. Blue-collar billionaire. You lost a reality show host. That's embarrassing. That's absolutely embarrassing. You know what makes it worse? When your sycophants out there saying, shouldn't you vote for Hillary Clinton? Shouldn't you have voted for Hillary Clinton? If you have to do that, that's pathetic and sad. That's pathetic and sad. It's essentially saying you didn't have the capacity on your own, meaning your candidate didn't have the capacity on your own to have people to spring up to vote for her in that way. You have to browbeat people to vote for your candidate. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Do you know how embarrassing that is? Bill Maher, 4 or 5 months out, is still talking about the election. He is still terrified. He's still terrified. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. So, before engaging in this particular conversation, I just want to make it clear, it is nobody's responsibility. Nobody's responsibility to get votes for Hillary Clinton other than Hillary Clinton. If she couldn't make those votes, if she couldn't convince those people, it sounds like a problem with her. It sounds like a problem with the Democratic Party. And yes, it will be a problem for the country in that sense because Trump is going to be horrible. But both would have been horrible. Both would have been horrible. We're only talking about a matter of degrees at that point. So, does the vote make a difference? No. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Ultimately, whether it's Trump, whether it's Clinton, at most you're talking about a matter of degrees. This argument that they're using always hinges on degrees. It always hinges on, I need to look very closely in a microscope and choose between these 2 quantities. The ridiculousness of this is that it pretends as if the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are 2 extremes. They're not 2 extremes. Those things are so close together that it becomes absurd to have this quibbling argument. Even when Bill Maher makes these arguments, they're these tiny degree difference. Hey, the guy who got shot under a black president, don't you think the white woman would have did better than the black president in preventing blacks from being shot by cops? Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that? And even if you do believe that, ultimately you're still admitting that this stuff was happening under the black president. My point is, these things are degrees. One issue after the next are a matter of degrees. Yes, the climate things. She's going to destroy the EPA. That's fair. But neither party is going to do anything about the whole the point. Climate change. Like, you're in this ridiculous situation where you're quibbling about the EPA being destroyed when there's a goddamn asteroid about to hit the planet. If you believe in science, if you're a Democrat, if you're progressive, you believe in science, you believe in climate change. You believe an asteroid is going to hit the planet. You believe we're going to hit a rock. You believe we're on the Titanic and we're going to hit an iceberg. My point is, you believe that there's an existential threat to our planet. You don't think it's a little weird to turn around and say, but fracking is okay? And beyond saying fracking is okay, even if she wasn't doing fracking, she wasn't going to do anything else to tangibly deal with that issue. Because she wasn't going to do anything else to tangibly deal with that issue, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That asteroid is still going to hit the planet. Yes, the EPA, that's sad. It's moving around deck chairs. You're still hitting the iceberg. That's what you fundamentally miss. The moment that your lens widens just a few degrees, your argument goes away. Your argument becomes irrelevant. The missile defense shield in Syria. Let's talk about that. Again, widening the scope. No, that's not talking about the EPA. No, that's not talking about taxes. That's talking about real world consequences of war. Your candidate wanted to put a missile defense shield in Syria. And the question always comes up, who is she trying to shoot down with that missile defense shield? Is she trying to shoot down a Russian jet? If she shoots down a Russian jet, that is a goddamn war. Why don't these Hillbots understand that? Do you realize I had a Hillbot told me, and I'm sorry, I'm using it as pejorative because some of the stuff is ridiculous. She told me, well, if the United States shoots down a Russian plane, Russia's not going to do anything about it. Why do you believe that? Why on earth do you believe that? A, you're postulating that, yes, you understand that Hillary Clinton may shoot down a Russian plane, and you cover that by pretending that Russia's not going to do anything. Mulligan, Vladimir Putin, Mulligan. You're absurd. These people are absurd. That's called a war. Yeah, that's called a war. That's called a war. I'm sorry you lost the EPA. That's called a war. That's worse. That's worse. What about putting a missile ring around China? That was in the Podesta leaks. She was wanting to put a missile ring around China. Now, you must understand, this is compounded by the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The Trans-Pacific Partnership was going to create an us versus them. Many of the deals, for the most part, align the United States with a bunch of other countries. You know who were left out? Russia, China. The same countries they're antagonizing now. The same countries Hillary Clinton was going to antagonize by her war policies. Certainly you understand that this is problematic. Certainly you understand this is problematic. You essentially have somebody who, right off the bat, may start a war. Right off the bat. Just basic policies that she's espoused. And another situation may start a war again because she's trying to crowd China out in that sense with missile or a ring of missiles. That's insane. This is absurd. Trans-Pacific Partnership would have literally undermined this democracy. Literally. This is not hyperbole. This is literally. Hillary Clinton, Obama, and Republicans were too, if we're being honest, were pushing a deal that would have allowed multinational corporations to sue this government if we did something to adversely affect their profits. I'm sorry your kid got cancer. I'm sorry, I really am. You understand though, it was cheaper to dump this chemical in this particular lake, in this particular area. I'm sorry. Look, my heart goes out to you. I'm a bleeding heart myself, but oh man, we gotta make our profits. So yes, we're gonna sue your government. We're gonna take your government to a foreign tribunal that your laws cannot touch. And whatever that foreign tribunal goes, your government is gonna abide by that ruling. That's what they were trying to do. They were literally trying to extract money from this government because of rules and regulations that would take place. That doesn't even get to the other trade deals that they were trying to pass, dealing with banking regulations, TISA. These things were insane. They were literally trying to sell this country down the river to corporate interests. Your candidate. That was your candidate. That wasn't Trump. That was your candidate. Donald Trump, as gross as he is, protected us from that garbage trade deal. He put a bullet in it the day he took office. Your candidate was going to try to find a way back to it. Tell me about this thing, about how she's a better candidate. She was going to literally undermine our democracy, and even if she didn't undermine our democracy, she might have gotten us into a goddamn war with China or Russia. Are you serious? Are you really having this argument about which was the better candidate? Is that the conversation you're having? Is that really the conversation you're having? And there is one more very important point of this that I will make the argument is probably the most important point. And look, I haven't even gotten to the cheating Sanders. I haven't even put this into the argument. All of this is an argument based on Hillary Clinton, how much of a failure she is in regards to foreign policy and even domestic policy, that she was going to sell this country down the river. You don't even know if she was going to privatize Social Security. She had people on her team that wanted to privatize Social Security. Her husband wanted to privatize Social Security with Newt Gingrich. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Are you really making this argument that Hillary Clinton was a better candidate? You're insane. I'm not even finished. The perspective of progressives. So, no. Just one more first. The worst part. And I think this is the worst part. And this is the part that's most important. Democrats, Republicans, they have a philosophical basis for their existence. Cosmic. The being of who those parties are. There is a philosophical reason that those parties exist. The Republican Party represents the rich. The Democratic Party represents the 99%, everybody else. Now, in this particular situation, the Republican Party is absolutely gross. Those guys are kleptocrats. But they're doing what they're supposed to do. They are fulfilling their cosmic goal in supporting the rich. They're obsequious to wealth. They're craving to wealth. The Democratic Party was supposed to represent workers, poor, the indigent, the average person. When Bill Clinton took office, Bill Clinton, if I'm not mistaken, was the first Democrat to outraise a Republican. And what do you know? Bill Clinton leaned to the right. Now, I've told you about this thing of narratives, that one individual has a hard time pushing against a narrative. So Donald Trump is hit with this narrative of, you're Putin's playmate, you're Putin having a sexual relationship, all this weird stuff. So it limits his behavior in regards to what he can do and how he can be conciliatory with Russia, because he's going to be seen through that narrative. It's a problem. It constrains his behavior. So in this particular case, when there is no narrative though, so Bill Clinton comes in. There's no narrative about Bill Clinton and taxes or Bill Clinton and these other things. Liberals are not supposed to do these things. Democrats are not supposed to function in this way. Bill Clinton still functioned in that way as a Republican. So yes, he destroyed Glass-Steagall. Yes, it was not just one thing. It was multiple deregulation of financial systems or our financial industry. Yes, he was going to destroy welfare. 70% of the kids or the people on that welfare was kids. Yes, he's going to put through that god-awful crime bill. It's one thing after the other. Yes, he's going to deregulate telecommunications. Do you understand what I'm saying? He even had a deal to privatize Social Security with Newt Gingrich. Bill Clinton, Democrat. Just so happened he got a bunch of money. I wonder, did the money influence his behavior and leaning to these right-wing policies? Do you realize Bush himself couldn't deregulate or couldn't get rid of Glass-Steagall? Ultimately, Bush is a Republican. He's out to screw over the working man. So no, he has opposition when he tries to do it. Bill Clinton does it. Well, Bill Clinton's a Democrat. I mean, if Bill Clinton is doing it, it must be okay. It's not okay. It wasn't okay. The moment that Bill Clinton did that, the workers, the poor, the indigent, the average person that the Democratic Party was supposed to represent, that connection was severed. Meaning, Bill Clinton was functioning at the behest of the wealthy, of the rich, in the same way that the Republican Party was functioning at the behest of the rich. It became a conversation between oligarchs. The public itself had nothing to do with the conversation anymore. He completely decapitated the ability of the public to address their grievances through that office. Completely. Meaning the Democratic Party no longer represented the workers at all. They represented their own wealthy interests. Now, here's the difference. The Democratic Party, for the most part, depended on progressives, even though they wanted all of that cash. So what do? I'm a moderate. I'm a middle guy. I'm a third way. I can take all this money, but I can say real pretty things to get progressives to try to vote for me. If I move too far this way, I'm going to lose progressives. If I move too far to progressives, I'm going to lose the business interests. These things are in constant conflict with one another. So I call myself a moderate so I can just take money. I call myself a moderate. Moderate is just a buzzword. It doesn't mean anything. Those people aren't moderates or anything else. They just want a reason to take cash, and they come up with a name in order to take that cash. Yes, they're craving all of them. All of them. So, yes, the Democratic Party, for the most part, lost its soul. Meaning one shill after the next, whether it was Clinton, whether it was Obama, or whether it was another Clinton. Ultimately, these guys were just faces for this interests. This is the point that I'm getting at. The Democratic Party is not functioning in the way that the Democratic Party is supposed to function. That's my point. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Meaning, they're supposed to behave a particular way. They're supposed to represent their philosophical basis for existence. It's supposed to represent the 99%. They're failing at their goals. They should not be supported in their goals if they're failing in their goals. If they're not meeting the needs that they were supposed to meet, philosophically, not meeting the needs that they're supposed to meet. If they're not representing their constituents, and they're not. You can look at the Princeton study. Legislation tends to bend towards the people who are paying them. What the public wants, in no way is expressed through legislation. What is expressed, who is putting dollars in their G-strings, and who's sending them out there to parade a particular line. That's what we're talking about. That's the Democratic Party. That is Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is a Democrat in name only. That woman is a Republican. She is a neocon. She is running in the Democratic Party. That is blasphemy. That is absolute blasphemy. FDR would be rolling in his grave if he saw that. Absolutely. That is not hyperbole. That is not hyperbole. Ultimately, the point I'm making to you is, if the Democratic Party is not living up to the standards that the Democratic Party was supposed to live up to, you should not be supporting the Democratic Party. Putting your vote behind Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton, or even, for that matter, Obama, emboldens them to behave that way. Meaning they can make this argument of, I'm least worst. Yes, you're least worst, but you're not fulfilling your objectives. You're not fulfilling the things that you were supposed to fulfill, meaning your philosophical basis for existence is being unfulfilled. I am not helping you in unfulfilling that basis. No, you need to lose. You need to lose over and over and over again until you get it through your goddamn skull that people are not going to vote for you as a shill for the corporate interests. If you're not going to represent them, you don't deserve to be in that office. Meaning if Hillary Clinton needs to be tackled at the 4-yard line by progressives because she's not representing her base or constituencies, then goddamn it, she needs to be tackled at the 4-yard line. That's my point. From this standpoint of, are you representing the way you're supposed to represent? If that answer is no, then no, you're not getting my vote. You're not getting my vote. I haven't even gotten into Bernie Sanders yet, and all of these things are red lines. Every last one of them. Every last one of them. And let's take it to another point. If you're looking at the perspective of progressives, meaning everybody's interests in a country is not the same. You have factions. You have people who want certain things. So, do you believe that the government's interest is the same as your interest? It's not. Do you believe when they're gallivanting around the country murdering civilians, do you believe that somehow helps you? It doesn't. It makes you a target. Do you believe that the interests of slaves was the same interest as the slave masters? It was not. Do you believe the interests of the worker is the same as the elites? It is not. This is not the United States. Those things are pretty words covering over all sorts of factions and all sorts of interests. So disabuse yourself of that thought. Now, from the perspective of progressives, progressives are not Democrats. We're not Democrats. We're not robots. We look at these things and we weep for the society. We are the conscience of this nation. It bothers us. We're the moral core. When we see these things of poverty, these things don't have to exist. When we see the behavior of government, we're seeing people shot by cops. We're seeing people put in prison over little ridiculous stuff. The United States has 25% of the people of the world in its prisons in regards to prison population. We only have 5% of the population. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's a symptom of a sick society. That's what progressives see when they look at the world. Now, when they're looking at this thing and saying ecological damage, societal collapse, these things are real issues. These things are real issues. These things are deal breakers to us because these things, if they're not fixed, are deal breakers in regards to the world. So if we're looking at you, we're saying, look, neither one of these candidates really get us to where we need to go. They're only a matter of degrees. And ultimately, if you vote Hillary Clinton and she gets in that office, half of the country goes to sleep. The Democratic Party goes to sleep. Yeah, she's going to be as gross as Trump in that office, only by a matter of degrees, but it doesn't matter. Ultimately, they're illusions, they're fantasies of what this world is secure with Hillary Clinton in that office. That's a problem. That's a problem. They're in the way. They're pods. They're in the way. At the very least, from a progressive standpoint, with Hillary Clinton out of that office and with Donald Trump in that office, you have the ghostwriter in that office. Rip the mask off. He is a flaming head. That is everything you want in that office. That is everything you despise in the capitalistic model. That is the thing that you want in that office. That's the thing you want in that office. That riles up independents, it riles up Democrats, and riles up progressives. You get a united front. He's going to do gross things in that office, that's true, but so was Hillary Clinton. The gross things he does in that office, for the most part, can be undone. For the most part, can be undone. Particularly if he's using executive orders. Now, I'm not saying all of them, and I'm not saying all of it's not going to hurt. Some of that stuff is going to be absolutely gross. But the question becomes, what would Hillary Clinton have done substantively different? She would have did things in a matter of degrees, but none of those things would have been substantively different. None of those things would have upended the system itself. None of them. Meaning, not only do you not get opposition for the bad things that Hillary Clinton is going to do because half of them are asleep, the things that she is going to do may be right-wing stuff. She may end up meeting ends with right-wing stuff. Obama enshrined Bush tax cuts in the law. That's absolutely gross. That's absolutely gross. Should we expect a tax cut from Hillary Clinton? Yes, we probably should. Yes, we probably should. This is kind of what I'm saying. Obama, 95% of the wealth to the top 1%. The best Trump could do is 5% more. That's it, just based on math and logic. 5% more. That's a Democrat. Am I to expect Hillary Clinton to do something better? No, I don't. I've already won over the climate change thing. She's not doing anything to substantively change climate change. So yeah, it doesn't matter what she's doing. It's one thing after the next. All these things are just a matter of degrees. The only argument that you can ever really make for Hillary Clinton is, hey, this deck chair looks better on this part of the Titanic than the other deck chair. I agree with you. But there's an iceberg right there. There's an iceberg right there. You see the iceberg, right? Yeah, I know, but I'm just talking about this deck chair. I don't give a shit about the deck chair. I'm talking about the iceberg. I'm talking about the iceberg. She is a red line. Cornel West was absolutely right. Voting for her was a red line. I went over multiple reasons why she was a red line. I understand that you think Trump is the goddamn apocalypse. Trump might be the apocalypse. But ultimately, right now, what I've seen is that he's somewhat constrained in that office. And yes, he's going to do gross things in that office, but he's done nothing that's been absurdly ridiculous to the degree that you guys are talking about, particularly to endear this much terror that's in Bill Maher and all these people. These people are deranged. These people are deranged. Even these people who are making these arguments, it's almost like they're making them in like a robot. Like, Comey, if it wasn't for Comey, Hillary Clinton would be president. If it wasn't for Russia, Comey would be president. Hillary Clinton would be president. If it wasn't for progressives, if it wasn't for the Green Party members, if it wasn't for Republicans, if it wasn't for... You have all these excuses. All these excuses. There's one excuse. She failed. She failed. She lost to reality shows. Own it. Own it. Stop bitching about it. Own it. You are 5 or 6 months out. At which point do you grow a pair and deal with it? She lost. My verdict is she lost. She is not a better choice than Donald Trump. Donald Trump, as ghastly as he is, as much of a goblin as he is a better choice than the other goblin. I'm giving you my reasons. These reasons are sound as can be. These reasons are correct. Challenge him if you want. But understand the quantities that you were dealing with. That she is a goddamn goblin, just to the degree of Donald Trump, and worse. Because again, you cannot convince me that there was no way that she would not have started a war. And these hillbots, you can't even have a certain level of unbiasedness. These guys are, they're so corrupted in their point of view that their view of reality is absolutely skewed. The idea that you would make this case that it doesn't matter if the United States shoots down a Russian jet, that's amazing. That's amazing. But this is the bubble they're walking around. She's under FBI investigation for a year. Well, she's never going to be investigated. She's never going to be locked up. They're never going to happen. The emails are released. Russia leaked those emails. You should never look at those emails. You do know they were cheating, right? Yeah, but you shouldn't watch them. If you're watching those emails, you're a Russian plant. So the emails are showing Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party cheating Bernie Sanders. If I look at that, I'm a plant. So you don't care about the cheating? No, I can't. No. I care about the emails. I care about the emails because I don't want them. I don't want people to watch those. Like, it's insane. It's insane. The stuff that they're talking about is absolutely absurd. No, she's not better than Donald Trump. Get it through your goddamn skulls. No. No. I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and you can always support the work through Patreon.